everybody. Today's date is December 4th, 2016, and my name is Leslie Williams. Now, this is going to be a very informative, educational video, and what I'm utilizing right now to make this video is a new camera, and it appears that this video camera only allows me to make 29-minute videos at a time, so I'm going to have to talk fast in this video in order to be able to incorporate as much information as possible. So I do apologize if it seems that I'm anxious as a result of talking fast, but the most important thing that needs to be done in this video is to incorporate as much evidence, information in this video, so the information can be researched per description, and then take all the descriptions, all the information that comes up from all the descriptions, and synthesize it together in order to be able to create at least a preliminary preface, a visual representation pertaining to the subject matter that I'm exposing. Now, I do apologize for the way I look. I've been made homeless as a result of being an organized stalking, gang stalking victim. I'm not involved in any type of legal activity whatsoever. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I'm not involved in any type of relationship because I've been completely isolated. Social isolation is a method of these crimes. Now, remember, all descriptions that I state in this video can be at least Googled. Some of them can be YouTubed, and I'm going to go ahead and fly right into this, to the subject matter pertaining to this video. Now, fellow American citizens, if you've never heard of a crime that goes by the name of gang stalking, which can also be called organized stalking, and I'm going to backtrack just for a second here. When I state the descriptions that I state in this video and the instructions that I state in this video, you can research the descriptions, most of them, through first organized stalking, and then go back and do separate searches by typing in the descriptions to gang stalking. And that way, because a lot of targets and people who research these crimes will expose what they know and or have experienced because of this crime by either gang stalking or organized stalking. So the best way to research this crime is by both names, separate searches per description. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this video, and I apologize it took a minute to get rolling, but it was important for me to include these statements so you can get an understanding pertaining to how to proceed and what's going on. So, my name is Leslie Williams. I live in San Diego, California, in La Jolla. I am a target, victim, and activist concerning the criminal expeditions of what is known as organized stalking, which can also be termed as gang stalking. I do not know, at least knowingly, in any way, shape, or form, the responsible parties who are perpetrating this criminality, and what I mean by that is I do not know them personally. I do not knowingly know if I have ever met any of them. Okay. So this crime is happening to me and hundreds of thousands of other victims in the United States, and this crime is also going on worldwide. It's going on in the UK, Japan, China, Australia. I've even seen posts from individuals experiencing this crime in Poland. So, before I start, I'm going to make this statement. I dedicate the information in this video to the exposure, okay, of what I state, for the human family, not just for fellow American citizens, because these crimes are going on worldwide. Now, pay attention closely to my statements, and you'll understand why each word was stated, because everything I state is... I'm building a foundation right now. The foundation will lead up to, okay, helping you see the subject matter that will, everything I state is basically going to help you see what's being, the reason why I'm making this video. And the initial statements and probably for the first 10 minutes is going to be the foundation being laid, descriptions and stuff like that, so you can, again, take what I state and research it per description, synthesize the information that comes up, and you will come with it. You will at least walk away with a preliminary visual representation pertaining to these horrific criminal realities. And again, I apologize it took a while for me to get started, and here it goes. Now, pay attention closely to all my statements. You ready? Now, what I'm going to describe to you right now is what is called as foundational programming attached to just one aspect of the terrorist schemes connected to gang stalking, and it is being extremely strongly suspected that it's being done for a specific type of crime that is connected to the crimes of this crime, of gang stalking. It's called heterodyning. Go to YouTube and Google and type in CIA Robert Duncan interviews. Also John Hall, heterodyning. If you don't know how to spell heterodyning, and I do have a little problem with spelling, just go to Google and type in heterodyning in a way that you would imagine it spelled. And even if you spell it wrong, Google will generate to you the correct spelling for it. And so right now what I'm going to do is give out some descriptions of names, so you can, and then proceed with what I got to state. Remote neural monitoring, the computer-to-brain feedback loop, heterodyning, okay, the microwave hearing effect, V2K. Let's see, what else do we got? Subvocal speech monitoring attached to remote neural monitoring, artificial intelligence supercomputers. Okay, now I'm going to make some other statements in this video, that some additional descriptions that's going to fold into the following example. And this example is factual. Stay with me and you will, what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. So, I'm a little anxious right now because I really want to describe what's going on here. Stay with this video, trust me. Now, have you ever heard of ADD or ADHD? Attention deficit, individuals who suffer from attention deficit disorder with or without the hyperactivity, the reason why they actually have, okay, a problem with paying attention is because people with attention deficit disorder struggle to focus. Their attention is divided because everything in their environment, including their internal thoughts, will distract them. They're distracted by their internal thoughts because they process information in non-linear order, which means that they don't really process information in sequential form using language or pictorial thinking. They're right-brained. Trust me, just stay with me, okay? You're going to understand this in a minute. Now, also, an individual, I'll just say ADD, but it can also be ADHD. Also, an individual with ADD has a problem with paying attention because everything in their environment, no matter what environment they're in, a classroom, a college campus, a restaurant, movie theater, at home, competes for their attention through their senses, hearing and sight. As a result, their attention is divided because their attention is constantly being grabbed by the external stimuli through their senses, what they see and hear. And this is why attention deficit, they have a deficit in their attention and cannot focus because everything is grabbing for it. But also, though, people with ADD can also hyper-focus if something is stimulating enough for them to focus on it. Because that's why children of this crime are given in part why they're given Ritalin, even though I absolutely do not agree with that at all. Okay, but that is one reason why the government will claim that a stimulant is needed to be given to them in order to stimulate the attention and keep them focused. Now, the reason why I brought this up is as follows, and this is going to blow your mind. Please pay attention. Now, in organized stalking and gang stalking criminal expeditions, targeted individuals can be subject to a technology that is called remote neural monitoring, which means that they're neurally monitoring the target from a remote distance. As a result, their subvocal speech can be monitored, and the resonance magnetic frequency of their brain, and every functionality of their brain. In fact, this technology can even monitor all of the biological systems, including the physiological signals of a target, including their breathing. So, again, once this video is watched by you, just research what I'm stating, and you'll see I'm telling you the truth, because it's all over the internet. Okay? Now, so far we've got a pretty good description concerning ADD and a few descriptions concerning some technologies that are perpetrated against, or that can be perpetrated against specific organized stalking, gang stalking targets. Remote neural monitoring and heterodyning are directly connected. Now, whenever we process information, we use subvocal speech, which comes up through the throat, okay, and then gets processed up and through our brain through four conscious layers: the unconscious, the subconscious, the preconscious, and then up into the consciousness. Take that and set it aside. Now, remote neural monitoring can monitor your subvocal speech, the speech that comes up through the larynx, through the vocal cords, up through the subconscious, and that's where they're monitoring it at, and have already deciphered and have read what is being processed before it reaches up through the conscious levels, before the target is aware of it at the conscious level, pertaining to how language is attached to their thought processes. Just trust me on this. Okay, just stay with me. Now, as a result, they're able to distinguish what a target is processing with their subvocal speech before the target's even consciously completely aware of it. Okay. Now, take that, set it aside for a minute. Trust me, this information will come back to you in a minute. Now, when you have an individual who's been made homeless that has ADD, and then what they can do, and which they are doing to a specific target individual, at least one that is known, is that what they'll do is develop a terror campaign for that specific selected target individual to endure on a daily basis. I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, and what they'll do is that gang stalking is a crime perpetrated not by gangs, even though gang members can play a role in it. It's perpetrated by the government at the federal, state, and local level, work in every state in the United States, working as an operating, networking, organized crime syndicate. And they do have tentacles out within the community, and corporations can be involved in it, and so can the military. Stay with me. Yeah. So, as a result of being selected to be an organized stalking, gang stalking victim, target individuals are blacklisted from, but not limited to, legal advocacy, medical help, and law enforcement assistance. And that includes governors, DA's offices, prosecutors, public defenders, and police. Because they have been put in a program that is designed to keep you in it and make you a victim of some of the most horrific criminalities that your mind can conceive and not, including torture. Sorry, there's a raccoon around me. So, do you honestly think that any government that does this to one of their citizens has not placed up and propped in within the system that's perpetrating these crimes? Do you honestly think that they have not set up protective measures to make sure that the target individual is not only kept in these crimes, but the perpetrators are protected because of them? Absolutely. Because these are extreme human rights violations, and some of the torture is directly connected to non-consensual human experimentation, which can also have military involvement in it. Sorry, it's either a raccoon or a bird. So, the point being is that heterodyning is where they will use heterodyning, which is a function of the remote neural monitoring. And what that does is that as the victim is being remotely neurally monitored, their brain functions, everything they process, their emotional clusters, their EEG signatures, which are basically nothing but how the brain is processing any function of the brain, language, brain states, emotional clusters, you name it. They're monitoring that target's brain in real time, no matter if the target is experiencing a in real time event because of gang stalking or if they're just trying to relax. Okay? The brain is constantly being monitored. Now, that's right. So, in gang stalking, what they'll do is develop what is known as terror campaigns, because what they're doing is harvesting the emotional clusters, the frequencies of them, that are being processed as the terror is being experienced. Now, this is where it's going to get real sticky. Hold on. But you're going to be able to understand it. Just listen. Now, to give you an example of what I'm talking about, think about this. Say if you have an elderly person, or even a single mother, sitting in her living room, and she happens to have to live in a bad neighborhood because of her finances. She can't afford to live in a better neighborhood. So she's sitting in her home. She's aware that she lives in a kind of a crime-ridden neighborhood, and she's sitting in her living room, and all of a sudden she hears a sound by her back door. Now, this is a person who's already been victimized through home invasions, possibly even assaults in the past, even in her own home. So whenever she hears a sound outside of her window or her back door, she is going to be automatically, instinctually, okay, brought back into a fearful mindset because of past crimes that have happened to her as a result of living in that home, in that neighborhood. Stay with me. Now, as soon as she hears that sound, her brain is instinctually going to remember the recent crimes that have happened to her because of where she lives, okay, and the fact that she's been a recent crime victim, and she's going to go right into the fight or flight and instant hypervigilant mental awareness because of the sound that she heard by her back door or her window. Well, this leads up to what I'm about to explain to you. And gang-stalking criminal expeditions, in order for them to heterodyne, which means that what they're doing is through the remote neural monitoring, they're monitoring what is processed as an emotion is being experienced. And they excite and stimulate this emotion to be experienced through propped up staged events, which can definitely include things that will lead the target individual to believe they're about to be assaulted, robbed, raped, arrested, ticketed, anything. Now, the way that they can do this with a homeless person, just bear with me, is by making the target homeless, which they can covertly create through many means. You can research that on Google, so I don't have to go into long explanations about how they can do it. Just trust me, it can be done. It's all over the internet, they're doing it, so just trust me on this. Okay, so once they make the target homeless, through the continued in real-time monitoring and tracking of the target, which is the stalking of gang stalking, GPS tracking their phone, their computer, and then the covert physical surveillance, they know where the target's at all times in real time, and even through their remote neural monitoring. So what they'll do is they know everybody's got to sleep. So they know that the target, okay, will go to any area to try and find a secluded area so they're not being harassed out in the community, so they can be by themselves, and so they can eventually have to, snuggle in and sleep for the night. What they'll do, through the tracking of the target, they know the wooded area that the target is selected. So what they'll do is bring homeless men, homeless women, social deviants, neighbors, even kids, adults, even students, public workers, even landscape workers, and all these descriptions can be Googled and cross-referenced to gang stalking, to get around the target, to engage in behaviors which include talking, saying specific things like threats, like gang stalk, why don't you get the bitch out of here, gang stalk, why don't you call the cops on her, fear of being arrested for being on property they're not supposed to be on, gang stalk, why don't you come and steal her stuff, that the target has to leave property behind when they leave the property for the day to go about their business, okay? And these threats are stated, it's called DNLP, Dark Neurolinguistic Programming Techniques, in order to excite an emotional and mental response. And this is done because as the threat is being stated, the remote neural monitoring is monitoring what's being processed as a result of what they hear the threat. Okay? They will engage in techniques to make the target individual believe that someone's on the property or going to approach the target once the person that is being utilized for it has made themselves aware that they're in the had made themselves known that they're on the property the target's on. Just like the woman who's in her home, she hears a sound by her back door. Okay, just trust me on this. As bizarre as this shit sounds, it's literally what they do. Okay, now the reason why they do this, okay, is because they know that they've had the target already assaulted, anywhere up to even 7 times, brutally assaulted, even possibly raped, and before, during, or after these assaults have took place, they have engaged in either saying certain words, phrases, physical gestures, or sounds, even associated specific types of peoples to these assaults, like homeless people. Because when you walk up and down the road in San Diego or California or any other state that's got a huge homeless population, you can become accustomed to how homeless people look. A lot of them don't look like they're, very, very, very well off, and that's not being, detrimental, mean concerning them. It's just because they're living in the poverty level. Well, they know that people are accustomed to what you can go down any area that's got a huge homeless population, and once you go through it enough times, you're going to be able to distinguish who's homeless and who's not. Let me just put it to you that way. Okay, well, they'll intentionally use people that look homeless, because what they're doing is intentionally forming mental associations to a specific type of person, to the victim, assaulting them on numerous occasions using different perpetrators for it. So that way, in the future, every time a target sees a homeless person in a wooded area, the target instinctively goes into this hypervigilant mindset about, am I going to be assaulted right now because of what's going on? Okay, and they'll make sure the target notices that these kinds of people are on the property, because they're told when they enter the property, concerning right by where the target's at, to make specific sounds, like breaking a tree branch, intentionally moving a bush around with a branch. And that's done to get the target's attention. The target's got ADD. And this is done to immediately stimulate fear, anxiety, hate, because when the person is propped up with the target to see him, that's when that person will say or do something to send the target a mental message that they're actually there because of gang stalking, by repeating something they've been sensitized to. And sensitization methods are all over the internet. Google and YouTube, research that. Hold on. So you can see that these mental associations concerning how sensitization is formed is intentionally brought about against the victim. It's their way to send a mental message to the target that they are in the target's environment, factually because of gang stalking, while they'll be acting nice, okay, in order to misdirect the situation because they know the target has a tape recorder, which they know it through, just trust me, cyber surveillance. If the target has ever uploaded evidence on YouTube from a tape recorder that's been caught, cyber surveillance being a method of these crimes, they can deduce the target's got a tape recorder, so the individuals that they'll use will act like they're stumbling across the target. They'll act innocent, verbally, okay, but they'll be engaging in specific physical behaviors to send the target a mental message that they're actually there because of gang stalking. Now, the reason why this is done, okay, and they'll also make threats that the target's going to be arrested or ticketed for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encouragement. And this is where some of the neighbors can be involved in this shit, or public workers who will act like they're near the property or on it because they got to do work on it, including property owners. This is the little scope and depth of the community connections that these filthy maggots have in the system. Because if they're tracking a target to a property, all they got to do is say, okay, well, this is the property the target's on, and since they're in the system, what they'll do is use the government agencies to find out who pays the taxes through their tax ID pertaining to the address of the property. They then get the property owner's name, call them up, tell them a lie about the type of person that's on their property, and will utilize them for the day against the target. They're told how to act towards the target, and boom. This is the depth and scope of these crimes. Now, one of the reasons why they'll do this is because they're harvesting the emotional clusters, the frequencies of them, and the EEG signatures of what's processed as these events are occurring. Now, heterodyning can also take the frequency of an emotional cluster or an EEG signature when a person is experiencing intense fear from one person, clone it, tweak it, so it can interface with the frequency of the emotional cluster of another victim and transmit and amplify that frequency from one person onto another, so they experience extreme fear that was processed from another victim. So go to YouTube and type in Robert Duncan, CIA whistleblower, and listen to his radio interviews until you hear him say it, because he's all over the internet exposing it. It's called heterodyning. Okay. Now, to give you an example of how bad this can be in reference to doing something like that, is go to, and I know this might sound a little bit funny, but it's essential for you as a person, as a fellow human being, to see the depth and scope of what target individuals are forced to experience, literally. So when you ever get an opportunity, there's an older movie, I don't remember what decade it came out, it was either the 80s or 90s, it's called Powder. Just bear with me. In this movie, Powder, it's a pretty good movie actually. There's a part of this movie where an individual just got done shooting a deer and it died. And this guy who went by the name of Powder, who was called Powder, came to the person who shot the deer, and he put his hand, the guy who shot the deer, his hand, on the deer, and as a result, Powder was able to influence that person to feel the death of that deer. I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but just trust me on this. As that person who shot the deer was experiencing the death of the deer, he was also experiencing the horrific feelings that this deer was processing as it was dying. Just trust me on this. Stay with me for a second. Now, the reason why I'm stating this is because when you go to that movie, if you choose to do it, you could probably watch it on YouTube or find it through Netflix for 99 cents. You're going to see the facial expressions and the reaction of this person who was forced to do this as a result of him killing this deer. And the reason why I'm doing this and telling you this aspect in this video is because when you watch this segment of this movie and you look at the facial expressions of this guy and what he's experiencing and then how it affected him, You will then be able to get an accurate pictorial representation in your mind what gang stalking victims are enduring. Literally. Hold on. So, fellow American citizens, I made this video to inform, to expose the truth, so the truth can be known for what it is. And here's another thing that they can do. Targets of this crime are picked for non-consensual military human experimentation. Project, go to Google and type in, and YouTube, and type in Project 2045. Go to Google and type in the Blue Brain Project. The Blue Brain Project. Okay? And you can also go to YouTube and type in Brian 2. His last name is spelled T-E-W. Look for his YouTube channel and look at his videos, and make sure you absolutely research what's in the description of all his videos. He's by far one of the best targets that I have seen so far that is doing a very good job in exposing what's going on pertaining to the military human experimentation, which absolutely and completely encompasses neurological torture and physiological torture every single day of the week after week, year after year, that targeted individuals are experiencing as a result of being a victim of this crime. Make no mistake about it. Hold on. Basically, in a sense, what it is perceptual torture and sensory overload torture, and neural and physiological torture. We are being subjected to some of the most horrific criminalities that your mind can conceive and not. You just would not believe what's happening to us. You just would not believe it. You just would not believe it. You just would not believe it. You can also go to YouTube and type in Timothy W. Bioethics Issues. Look at his video, and then look at all the videos that come up at the column. Once you bring up that video, there's going to be a bunch of videos that come up at a column to the right. Watch all those videos. You'll see individuals of targets of this crime testifying before the Bioethics Commission. You can also go to YouTube and type in OSEH, okay, gang stalking. You're going to be able to see a bunch, hundreds of videos come up of victims of this crime testifying before the Bioethics Commission, because these are biological torture crimes. You can also, alright, now I got a minute left in this video, so I'm going to just go ahead and flat out interject some descriptions here for you to YouTube. Brain-to-computer interface implants, stimulated responsive implants, all researched all to gang stalking, EMG implants, nano implants, okay, stimulated responsive implants, nanotechnology in gang stalking and torture, DARPA in gang stalking and human experimentation, the DOD, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, Homeland Security. You just would not believe what's happening to us, fellow American citizens. If you had any idea what's happening to us, you just would not believe it. Hold on. So I made this video to inform these filthy animals will literally rape and or gang rape a target, just to traumatize a target, to disassociate their mind in order to make the remote neural monitoring functioning of the remote neural monitoring more easily neurologically accessible of the target. Please research these crimes. My name is Leslie Williams. I made this video to inform, to expose the truth. Thank you.